Today we are going to be discussing major developments in the crypto world. It's about the recent arrest of the Telegram CEO Pavel Durov and the impact of that event into the crypto markets with Bitcoin, Ethereum and altcoins. I'll also be discussing an innovating altcoin which I think will do well, and at the end of this video I'll be doing a really cool giveaway, so stick around and let's get started. When you think you've seen it all, then all of a sudden we've got something that is new, which is the arrest of Pavel Durov. What type of impact could it have on crypto? Well, it's a very interesting week. We've had Mt. Gox, we've had Germany selling, we've had Silk Road, we've had Trump, and now we've got Pavel Durov, who has been arrested in France. He's free, he's somewhere, but at least it's an interesting thing, because if you look at Mark Zuckerberg, he has been selling your information and he is free. And Pavel Durov doesn't want to do that, and he's getting caught in France. Now, Ton and Telegram are the biggest, blockchains at this point in terms of hype. Solana has been doing well, but also Ton has been getting into the spotlight as one of the key blockchains. When we're looking at Ton itself, then after the event took place, Telegram became in the top 10 of most downloaded apps, but the Ton blockchain is in trouble as the amount of TVL that was locked into the blockchain dropped by more than 50% in a matter of a week. So people are trying to get out of the blockchain, but on the other hand, other people want to use Telegram. And the question is, how are governments going to be reacting on this type of event? And how are we going to be using anything related to Telegram in the future? We simply don't know. Now, in the past week, we've also seen that the Telegram blockchain called Ton was out of service for more than 6 hours twice. So a new recent listing or a new project came out, and the Ton blockchain couldn't handle the amount of transactions that were done. So we do know that from Solana, and being out of your blockchain or out of production for a little bit is terrible, I would say, but it's not a bad thing, as we all know that once this started to happen in 2021, Solana started to surge heavily. Now, there's also another important event that took place over the week, which is the Nvidia earnings, which we had on Wednesday. I've never seen an event that people are going to a bar to watch the earnings of a company before. It's a good thing, because people are enjoying stock markets way more than they did in the past, but it's just the standard for a bubble or hype that is related to a specific stock. Nvidia did beat the earnings and multiple other particular numbers. However, after the market started to drop, and it's a typical thing for the markets to be doing the opposite of what everybody's expecting, just because there's so much hype. This could have an impact on the markets in the future. If Nvidia starts to drop, we likely are going to have a negative impact on Bitcoin as well. Another big event is the fact that, again, the SEC doesn't stop attacking crypto. We've seen multiple attacks towards Coinbase or other parties, but now we're seeing the SEC attacking OpenSea because they claim that NFTs are potentially securities. And I think they are in some way actually right about that, because NFTs might represent a legal ownership of something in the real world in the future, but OpenSea itself is generally just a digital art or digital assets platform. So the SEC is just trying to crack onto a new thing within crypto when it's not DeFi or when it's not an actual platform. So lots of things that are happening in the markets at this point, and some key events are going to be happening in the future as well. In 2 weeks from now, we're going to be having the Fed doing its rate cut. In the past week, we've had Jackson Hole Symposium, where Powell confirmed that they're going to do rate cuts, and the first one is going to take place in September. The question is not how many of them are going to be happening, but how heavy the economy will be taking hits going into those events. Usually, when rate cuts start to happen, we are facing a recession, so that might impact the markets in a big way. Then also we've got the FTX release of 16 billion US dollars that are going to be free for crypto investors to be reused in the markets. The question is how much of this are going to be used in the markets in itself, but it's a positive thing that investors are getting back money which they are likely going to deploy in the markets. Now, when we all have these sorts of events, what are the actual crucial levels that we're looking at when we're looking at the charts or when we're looking at data to determine whether we should be buying or selling crypto? Again, one of the largest liquidations in crypto, as more than 300 million US dollars have been liquidated as a response to the outage of the Ton blockchain. Now that can have an impact, and if we look at the crypto fear and greed index, it is still into red numbers. The fear and greed index has shown a number of 30 for the past week, which is remarkable because that shows that people are definitely not really interested into crypto and the sentiment is bearish. It's a metric from 0 to 100, and in the past month it stayed around 20 to 40 and not higher. If we go back earlier in the year, we can see that during the March period, we've had a greed period where the numbers were actually going above 80. Now, Bitcoin and Ethereum are stagnating, and Ethereum is actually hitting new lows when you compare that towards Bitcoin. But Bitcoin in itself has seen an inflow of more than 500 million in 2 weeks on the ETF, showing that there is a lot of institutional interest taking place and a lot of interest in buying for Bitcoin in itself. But Ether is lagging behind. There is a constant outflow in Ethereum taking place primarily due to the Grayscale Trust that has been getting sold off by 10 to 20 million on a daily basis. Now, finally, during this week, after 2 weeks of outflow, we see the first green day of the Ethereum ETF inflow, which might result into a reversal taking place. Now, what does that mean for the markets, and what are we looking at in terms of important metrics on the charts? The past week we've seen Bitcoin chopping around, and if you look at the chart you can see that since March, when we started to break through 60k, we're still at the same level. So Bitcoin is still acting around $60,000. It's doing that for 6 months in a row, and you know that once it starts to break out of the range, it is likely going to be the actual move that you want to be positioned into. And given the sentiment, people are currently thinking that we're going to have a bear market and that we break on the downside. But I remember that in 2019 and 2020, we had the exact same, and it didn't happen. And after the breakout, nobody was going to be looking at, oh, are we going to make new lows? But it was also quite hard to get into positions. So these periods where you have substantial corrections taking place, those are the periods that you want to get yourself into a position in Bitcoin or into altcoins. Now, when we look at the price action of Bitcoin, we can see that on the lower time frames, a few key events or key levels are to be looked for, which is we wanted to break through $61,500. We couldn't hold as support because the Ton blockchain outage and everything surrounding Pavel took place. But once we reclaim that level, we spot ourselves into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 highs that we are likely going to break through. And once that starts to occur, that is going to be the actual trigger towards a new all-time high and for the remainder of the markets to start following through, because a lot of people that are short, and it's multiple billions, have their stops above these highs. Now, that is one part, and I think Bitcoin in itself is doing great, but if we look at altcoins, they are really shitty. We need to look at the total tree chart, and we need to divide that by Bitcoin to see what the general altcoin consensus is valued in Bitcoin, because our goal is to make more Bitcoin, not more USD, because the USD will be worthless anyway. Two charts are important, and the first one is total tree divided by Bitcoin. On the weekly chart, we can see that there is a weekly bullish divergence. Price is making lower lows, the RSI is making higher lows, so there is an indication that price and the RSI are different, so either of the one needs to get back to the other one. Given that we're approaching a high time frame level, it's very likely that the price is lagging behind the indicator and that we're going to be rotating back towards neutral or towards the market equilibrium, given the fact that we're also in a falling wedge structure. So it's very likely that based on this chart that the BTC valuations are going to be breaking out in September. And in line with that argument, for the first time in 2.5 years, the Ether against Bitcoin chart is making a daily bullish divergence. That is a massive indication that we're going to be reversing back upwards, as the previous top of Bitcoin was defined by a bearish divergence. The bottom in 2022 and 2018 for Bitcoin was defined by one. The bottom in 2019 for Ether against Bitcoin was defined by one. So if we see this, we still need to see follow through, but it's very likely that we are at the actual bottom for Ethereum. Crucial levels for Ether to break through, crucial area here at 0.046, but it's currently at support and it's making this bullish divergence, so I want to be allocated into altcoins and I expect a lot of positivity. If we're looking at Ether against USDT, there are still some crucial levels to be looking for, and especially it's more or less the question what Bitcoin will be doing. So if Ether comes back to 2600 plus and retests the area of 2800, it's very likely that we're going to be seeing a rally back to 3K plus, but most likely being fueled by the Ethereum ETF inflow and the confirmation of the bullish divergence. When we're talking about the fact that ETH might be bottoming out, then the question arises, which one is going to be the new ferocity? And if you recall from the last cycle, I was posting about ferocity, which did really well. And at this cycle, of course, I'm looking at mini gems that might do well or are extremely undervalued. Therefore, I come to the conclusion that a project called Alchemy is one to watch for. And there are many interesting aspects of this actual altcoin, which is, I think it's not even fair to say that it's an altcoin because it's just a Web2 company integrating their company into the Web3 space, having an actual use case that serves Web2 companies. So what do? They are an advertising exchange where they connect advertisers and publishers and reduce the costs that publishers need to pay, or actually what they receive from all the ads that are run on their website. So what they say is that 50% of the advertising costs that are paid onto a publisher are left behind onto third parties, and they want to make it more transparent. They want to make it more real, and therefore they use blockchain to make it transparent, to make it more open, but also to reduce costs. Now, why is this interesting? Well, it is actually attacking the stagnant Web2 world when it comes to this market. And there are not many crypto projects out there focusing on this. So it is for everyone. If you're an investor and you're looking to get a passive income out of it, you can be a staker or a validator and get a part of the revenue back from everything that they do. For publishers, they get a more fair value for all the ads that are shown on their website. Advertisers are seeing transparent data and actual proof of that those ads are being shown. So this is one of my investments that I think is going to do really well. And there are a lot of things that are going to be happening. I need to say, I'm personally invested into this project, so I'm quite biased. But it's a project that is valued at 30 million, completely fully diluted, and having the actual use case where everyone benefits of the project doing well. So if you're looking at something to add in your portfolio with a small allocation, then I think that this one suits you well, and that this one is actually a company taking or making revenue, and it's not an altcoin, but it's something for the long term. I think the worst period is over for the markets, and I think that at this point we are having a substantial bear market again for the altcoins, but we're on edge of changing that momentum. The reason for that is that I've just shown you the total tree divided by Bitcoin chart, which is on the edge of breaking out to the upside. And if I'm tweeting about Ether, for instance, There's so much negativity taking place. Nobody expects anything from Ether to be happening in the future and are comparing Ether to Cardano. And I think that it's completely different. Cardano is not providing anything at all. But Ether, for instance, in this week, have announced that they will be working with Sonium, which is a big company in the Web2 space, building their own blockchain, integrating that with Optimism, which is a layer 2 on top of Ethereum, but they use the Ethereum security. They use Chainlink for the data provision as an oracle. And I think that Ether will start to wake up. And I think that slowly but surely we can see that there is going to be some ETF interest. There are some specific projects in the Ether ecosystem doing better, which is DeFi. I discussed this in the previous week. So the question becomes, should you be selling at this point when everybody is saying that it's going to go down? Or should you be looking to actually sticking to your positions, buy those assets, or hold, simply put? Then there are two examples. If I go onto social media and Ethereum is going to be looking to reverse from here, but nobody expects it, I feel inclined to start buying the actual asset. I can't because I've been fully allocated already. But if I can see that people are sitting in a bar drinking beers looking at the Nvidia earnings, then I'm inclined to start shorting that actual asset instead of buying it. And that's how you should be working when it comes to the markets. So in that regard, when it comes to my strategy, I think in the coming videos, we are going to be seeing that altcoins are doing really well and that we're going to have some nice returns. So if you're into any positions into altcoins or Ether and you don't feel comfortable, well, I'm in your boat as well. I'm still focused on my personal thesis. I've been doing this for multiple times and I'm staying into that actual strategy, expecting a lot of return to come in the coming year. As promised, at the end of the video, we were going to be doing a giveaway. So first of all, congratulations of watching this video for the past 10 to 15 minutes, but we're doing a giveaway. It's a build your portfolio, which we have as a product within the consultancy worth around 1,700 euros, where we design your portfolio to be prepared for the coming 2 years, where you don't need to do that much after that anymore. If you want to win that prize, check out the description below where you can see the specific requirements to join this giveaway. Further, thank you for watching to this video. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and let me know what your view is on the arrest of Pavel Durov and your expectations of the markets in the comments beneath. Ciao!